Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much joining us for the first session of International Emergency Medicine Education Project live. And we are very excited today to share many important information about undergraduate emergency medicine, especially from Africa in this session. And of course, I have to say maybe good morning or good afternoon or maybe good evening of many of you because probably you are watching this live session from different part of the world. If any case, if you didn't come across with the International Emergency Medicine Education Project, I just want to explain you what it is. This project is an international non-profit project, a collaboration to promote emergency medicine for medical students and also provide educational resources, courses for undergraduate trainees and their educators. Although our primary focus is undergraduate emergency medicine or medical students, we think that many trainees may find some the valuable the resources in our platforms. So what are those platforms? If I able to show you, so we have actually multiple platforms to share these resources with you. Our main hub is iem-student.org platform. You can find the chapters and you can find audio chapters. You can find the image or video archive. All of them actually copyright free. And you can find blog posts. You can find the MCQs related to emergency medicine. Of course, these platforms are created by the contribution of almost 200 international the students, residents, emergency physicians, or faculty members, or some of them actually were from world-renowned emergency the medicine leaders. While we are actually providing these resources in this platform, last year we created a course platform, which is iem-course.org platform. We provided free courses for medical students, which they might be actually experiencing some difficulty during the pandemic. The other platforms that we are using, the Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and SoundCloud, and also Flickr to put our resources, and all of them free to reach and all of them free to use for everything in your educational needs. And currently we are live in Twitter. We are also live in the YouTube and Facebook. And also iem-student.org/TV website. You can watch this live session with these platforms, in these platforms. All right, so when the IEM started, actually it was almost 3-4 years back. It was an idea that creating a platform to helping the students around the world and improving the undergraduate emergency medicine education. And that time, we definitely need to say thank to International Federation for Emergency Medicine and United Arab Emirates University College of Medicine and Health Sciences for their support and their endorsement. They actually encourage us a lot to come to this day. Today, almost every continental the association, emergency medicine organizations are endorsing us, and we are trying to increase our collaboration with them. And we are looking forward, of course, to more collaboration, more free resources to produce for our medical students around the world. Today is a very special day because today is actually our 4th year is starting. So we just wanted to celebrate with you this unique day. So therefore, with Dr. Elif, which is one of our editors, and Dr. James from IFEM, and we decided that it can be great to listen what our students think or what are their ideas about the emergency medicine. So we decided to invite them to these live sessions. Hopefully it will be multiple sessions from the different regions. But today we are inviting 3 amazingly talented, passionate, emergency medicine bound students from Africa. They are all leaders of the African Federation for Emergency Medicine Student Council. So we will be actually talking with them. But before we start, before we invite them, we have a couple actually surprise for you. The first surprise, actually my close friend, Dr. James Kwan, and he is with us now, and he is the co-hosting this event with us. Welcome, James. How are you?
Thank you, Alpa. Thank you for inviting me along to this event. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone from around the world. My name is James Kwan. I am chair of the IFEM Core Curriculum and Education Committee, and I chair this committee with Alpa as my vice chair. I was really excited to hear that Alpa had put together this event, not more so than a project which has been dear to his heart, and he's put many hours and a lot of passion into this project itself, which has been an overwhelming success. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to everyone from around the world joining us from this event. Now, this event is about students. So we're going to try to give most of our time to our students and what they had listened to, what they had to say. This is a great opportunity to have an informal chat over coffee. The idea conjured up by Alpa himself that we would have a cup of coffee and we would have a chat over coffee with our students, our student Muhammad Adabizi and Jonathan from the African Federation of Emergency Medicine. They're part of the council, the student council there, which is quite a unique entity. Just like to say a few words about emergency medicine. As a specialty, emergency medicine really provides many diverse and unique learning opportunities for our medical students. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from our student leaders who are medical students, who have experience time in the emergency department, especially in this challenging time where there have been with the pandemic, with interruptions to their education, how they've been, just checking in on them, what their experience has been, and how we could better support them in this challenging time. You know, travel is obviously not possible at the moment. Ideally, would like to meet them in person, but this is another good way of doing so. So without much ado, I'll hand you back to Alpa, who will take us to the next step.
Thank you so much for joining. I think it's, what time is in Singapore now? It is 8?
It's 8 p.m.
All right. So you're
I forgot to mention, actually,
you're keeping up to sleep today.
Yes. I'm actually an Australian emergency physician working in Singapore at the moment. Sorry, I should have actually made it clear where I was calling from.
Yeah, maybe better not to drink a coffee now.
Yes.
And before we start, actually, the last thing we need to say, the behind the scene, there is a lot of work actually to do this live event and controlling the sound comments. And therefore, we need to thank the Dr. Elif to taking care of this background checks and everything going smoothly with her actually the watch. So therefore, we need to thank her. And then back to James again.
Right, Alpa, would you like to, shall we bring on Fionn as our next guest?
Fionn is joining today?
Fionn is joining today. I'm sure she is. Oh, there she is. There's another surprise.
Hi, Fionn.
Hello,
Hi,
Fionn.
everybody. Hi, Alpa.
How are
Hi,
you?
James.
Thank you very much for joining us. And
hi, Elif in the background.
Yes. Fionn, you're president-elect of International Federation for Emergency Medicine, and you are one of the unique role models of emergency medicine. And your presence here actually is very important. And what do you think about undergraduate emergency medicine, and what are your messages from yourself as one of the leader of emergency medicine?
I'm just delighted to be here and to see this event actually happen. It's absolutely great. And the cup of coffee theme is such a good idea. So here I'm calling from the UK. It is now 1:15 p.m. over here. My name is Fionn Davis, and yes, I'm the president-elect of the International Federation for Emergency Medicine, which fully supports the IEM project, and we're just delighted to see you all here today from all over the world, and particularly our African Student Council. So I would also like to pass on warm regards from Professor Sally McCarthy, who's the president, who intended to be here today but has had to have a last-minute change of plan. But she's very sorry she can't join us and wants to say hi to you all, to all those students that are out there. So just to reiterate what Alpa said, the International Federation for Emergency Medicine is the representative body for emergency medicine in over 70 countries. So we are truly worldwide. And IFEM exists to support the development of emergency medicine and its specialist EM doctors and support new training programs, as well as support the medical students who will be our talent pipeline for the future. In many countries around the world, such as the UK or USA or Australia, medical students spend time in the emergency department as part of their curriculum, and they see specialists at work and they become enthusiastic about what they might want to do in the future, and they understand the specialist training. In other countries, emergency medicine is only just developing as a specialty, so you may, if you're lucky, get a taster. But it's probably true to say for many of us who are emergency physicians around the world, our very first glimpse of what it was like and our enthusiasm and our passion came from our time as a medical student. And I remember those days very clearly, even though they were a very, very long time ago. And that's when I decided I wanted to do emergency medicine. So please, if you're interested in it and you've been there and seen what we do, it might actually become your career. So the IEM project seeks to enthuse and support you all. So let's spend today's session working out how can we use IEM to its maximum to support you all, enthuse you all, and maybe set you up for a future career. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Leon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I think you're going to bring on the students. We're going to bring on our students now, aren't we?
Do you have any other questions to Fionn? I don't know. If not, so maybe you can.
I think it's definitely time to bring on the students.
Yes,
they've
definitely.
heard enough from us boring old people.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Fionn.
Well said, Fionn.
Thank you very much, Jordan.
So whilst you're doing that, Alpa, would you like me to just go and say a few words? So as Alpa is letting our students in through the front door of the house, after all, this is a coffee morning, I'd like to welcome those who have just joined us on the different social media platforms. My name is James Kwan. I am co-moderating this session with Alpa Cevic from the IEM student project. Now, just a few words on housekeeping as we bring our students on. This event is actually being live streamed on a range of social media platforms, so feel free to join in from any one of those platforms. Unfortunately, you won't be able to speak during the event, so we ask that you share your questions, comments, reflections on what you've heard on the social media platform you're using to view the event. We will be able to see those comments, so it will be really useful for us to share those comments with our student leaders and also as a wider group as well from participants across the world. We will, of course, try to attempt to answer as many questions as possible, but as you appreciate, in such a time-limited setting, it may be not possible to answer everyone's questions, so we'll try. And needless to say, please share your comments in a professional manner. It can be quite tough, being on social media, being live streamed, so I would ask for your understanding and share your comments in a professional manner. Now, just, I guess, kick back with your cup of coffee. I certainly have mine, if you can see it. I held up mine in front of the screen here, and enjoy and listening to our students. So, Alpa, would you like to bring them in and introduce them?
I can bring our first guest, and then we can hear from him, Mohammed from Egypt. So, let me bring him. Hi, Mohammed. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, Mohammed.
So All right, I was gonna jump in and introduce myself. I'm very excited to be here today. My name is Mohammed Hussein. I recently graduated and completed my mandatory internship from Ain Shams University in Cairo, Egypt. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to talk about something that is that we're very passionate about. And here's my cup of coffee. Let's sit back and talk.
Great. Thank you so much, joining
Cheers.
Mohammed. We are so happy to have you here today. And I think our second guest is already ready. Adebisi should be here. Hi, Adebisi.
Hello, Adebisi.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. It's really nice to be here.
How are you? Can you please introduce yourself? Who are you? Where are you from?
Absolutely. Yeah, so hi, everyone. It's really, really nice to be here. I'm so excited about this. My name is Adebisi Adeyeye, and I am a final year medical student at College of Medicine, University of Lagos in Nigeria. I'm also one of the co-founders and the vice president for the African Federation of Emergency Medicine Medical Student Council. And I'm also the founder of the Emergency Medicine Interest Group in Nigeria. So that's a brief introduction about me. And yeah, super excited to see how this goes.
Thank you very much for joining. It is so exciting for us to have you guys, really. James, would you like to invite?
Shall I invite Jonathan in?
Yes.
Hello, Jonathan. Are you online?
Yeah.
I think the photo's going to change shortly.
Yes.
Hello, Jonathan. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. I'm Jonathan Kaya, medical student at Mbara University in Uganda. You all very welcome to join us today as we share our experiences and views towards emergency medicine. Passionate about EM, I founded the first ever emergency medicine interest group in Uganda, and I also serve as vice president for the African Federation of Emergency Medicine Student Council. And part general secretary. So it will be an exciting to share with you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan. We're very excited to be, having coffee with you this morning as well, and with Adebisi and Mohammed. I guess, Alpa, shall we get started?
Yes.
Find out a little bit more about our students. What do you think?
Now you are the host.
Yeah.
Then you can start.
Oh, why don't we find out a little bit more? Shall we start off with? Let's start off with Adebisi. Let's find out a little bit more about. Let's find out a little bit more about what your experience is in emergency medicine.
Okay, so I do not have so much hands-on experience with emergency medicine, and this is partly due to the limitations of emergency medicine, or where we are currently in development of emergency medicine in Nigeria. So here in Nigeria, I haven't really had an emergency medicine rotation. I'm currently a medical student, like I said, LMA final year, and I never had any emergency medicine formal rotation or a formal clerkship. So I just had to learn by going to the emergency department every now and then, volunteering there to help out. And, sometimes just informal visits to the ER to be a part of what is going on there and, get some opportunity to learn. I hope that captures what you're trying to ask.
Yeah, that sounds like quite a challenge, isn't it? Trying to find out about emergency medicine by yourself. It reminds me of my time as a medical student when we had to go around and, try to find some interesting cases.
I don't think you remember, James.
So, oh, come on, Alpha. Not that old. I think that sounds like quite a challenge. Maybe we'll ask you to share a little bit more with us the kind of challenges that you had to go through to actually come through. What about yourself, Mohammed?
Mohammed, you are muted, I guess.
I apologize for that. I'm just going to start. by painting a picture of how EM is in Egypt. So EM in Egypt was formally recognized as a specialty in 2002, right? There's been a lot of progress, but there's still a long way to go. Most emergency departments, including the one at my own institution, use that historical model that differentiates patients into surgical and medical complaints. And these departments are usually staffed by a team of interns and multidisciplinary residents from non-EM specialties, right? As I've said, I completed my internship. I spent 6 months of that internship in a Ministry of Health hospital, where I was quote unquote the emergency physician, right? I'd see every patient that walked in or was brought into the emergency department, and I'd frequently disposition them. A friend and I would divide on average 65 patients per 12-hour shift, and we'd be backed up by residents from other specialties, obviously non-EM specialties. That being said, during those 6 months, I was involved in a patient transfer to another hospital. I remember being in the back of the ambulance with 2 syringes, one full of propofol, one of midazolam. So if that patient started seizing, I remember having the intensivist on speed dial. I was praying that nothing would happen. Interestingly, though, when we arrived at the emergency department of that hospital, we were met by the trauma team that was led by an emergency physician. We were taken to a resuscitation bay with 360-degree access. And then that patient was scanned head to toe in the CT scanner inside the department. So I use that as an example to paint a picture of how emergency clinical practice varies by location and by institution. Honestly, I should have gave you a disclaimer that I'm more invested and aware of the situation. And if you let me, I'll talk a lot more. But if anyone's interested, there's been a recently published paper called obviously titled Emergency Medicine in Egypt, that you can read and find out more about the state of EM in Egypt. But we're taking definitely wide strides in the right direction, and I'm optimistic that continues.
Yeah, definitely. We can post actually the link of the paper and the website under the video.
Awesome.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Mohammed, may I ask you something? I mean, you said that right after the finishing your medical school and going to the internship, you jumped into the emergency department and worked as a almost somehow primary responsible the person in some cases. Of course, there are a lot of maybe help around you. Well, how was the feeling? What did you feel? I mean, when in your first day, for example, what was the feelings that you experienced?
Absolute fear. Absolute fear. But I must say that I went into that setting knowing that I'd at some point be responsible for patients' lives, and then I thought that was my responsibility to sort of educate myself and elevate my skills. And I walked into that possibly the only person in my cohort that was ALS certified.
Amazing. And
I had to be.
Yeah, thank you. It's amazing. Jonathan, how about your context and your experience in emergency medicine until today?
All right, thank you so much. So, me personally, my very first experience with emergency medicine was a medicine conference that was held in Uganda in 2019, which I believe paved a very great way for my rising up and further development of passion in EM ever since that conference. I had a chance of networking a lot and establishing quite a number of contacts that led me up to now getting more opportunities of now working in an ED as a research assistant. And then I also came to get my first formal mentor from a connection or a contact I made from that conference, who then now led me up to founding the very first emergency medicine interest group in Uganda that we've now run, I think, for close to 6 or 5 months. Yeah. So then, in addition to that, I have had quite some good number of courses online. And amongst those is the Emergency Medicine Core Post-Content course that is provided free of charge to us by the International Emergency Medicine Project, for which we thank you so much for creating such a resource for us. And in addition to that, I have rotated in the ED once. In our setting, we rotate as undergrads for 2 weeks in the emergency department during our 3rd year. And then we also rotate for 2 weeks in the emergency department in our 5th year, which is realistically not enough time for us to probably get well exposed to a practice of EM. And I believe we deserve much more than that. Briefly.
So what did you enjoy about that time?
Oh, which time exactly?
In your emergency medicine rotation, what did you enjoy about the rotation?
Oh, I think I remember one thing that I probably still have on my mind that was a mistake a bit. Might not blame myself for that. This was a patient who came in from an accident, and when I was asked to administer morphine, these are drugs that we hadn't been exposed to, I ended up doing a small mistake of administering morphine using a different route, which was awkward a bit, but I felt so bad because, well, I might not say it was my fault, probably it's because we don't receive enough exposure. But it was interesting seeing patients that flow in when they're critically ill, and within a few minutes, they receive life back, and they are really appreciative of all the work that you've done to them.
Sounds very rewarding, actually. You know, your experience, you seemed to have a very rewarding experience in the emergency department. I guess I wanted to actually ask Edebisi, because she didn't have any formal rotations in emergency medicine. So how has that affected, more recent, in the last year or so, where, with the pandemic and the emergency department being a ground zero, how has that affected your learning in emergency medicine?
Thank you. That's a really nice question. And to start with, first of all, I think I have to say that we also do not have emergency medicine as a residency in Nigeria. It's not yet a formal residency. There are no residency trainings anywhere in Nigeria currently in emergency medicine. And in my own training institution, we do not have any emergency physicians. We do not have any emergency medicine trained physicians. So the EDs, the emergency rooms, are run by the interns, just like Mohammed's story was very similar to that. So we have interns, we have graduates 2-3 years out of med school running the EDs with supervision from attendings or consultants from the other units, such as the internal medicine consultants, the surgical consultants. So personally, I had never had any rotation which was formal or graded in emergency medicine before, all throughout medical school. And as at the time I discovered that I really had an interest in emergency medicine, I thought to myself, okay, so how am I going to even test this, my interest? How do I know I fit in well into this environment? How do I know I can function well in the ED? So I thought to myself to start going to the ED more often. And then I began by going every other day to the emergency department to get involved, to help out. I used to go around 9 p.m. to 12, sometimes to 1 a.m., out of my school hours, out of my own personal time, when I do not have lectures or anything. I go to the ED, help out like 3-4 times a week. But with the pandemic, we couldn't have that exposure. I couldn't have that one-on-one exposure. I had to do all my lectures online, or most of my learning online. So I haven't even had much time. And even now that I'm back in school, schools have opened here and I'm back in school now, I still can't go so freely to the EDs because of the COVID situation. So it really took a toll. And then what I resorted to doing was to learn more online. So like Jonathan mentioned about the International Emergency Medicine Project, I also took the course as well, and it was really, really nice. I also did some virtual rotations in emergency medicine in the US. So that was how I tried to supplement my learning in emergency medicine. Yeah.
Wow,
Amazing.
that certainly was a challenging year for you, especially when a lot of your learning was pretty unstructured. I mean, this is a really, we take for granted, where we are, when in Singapore, in Australia, with these very structured emergency medicine rotations. And then we hear about your challenges of trying to find the experience that you actually need. So that's wonderful for you to share that with us. Alpa, I know you had some more questions that you wanted to
Yeah, I have
discuss with
many
our students.
questions, of course, but Adebisi somehow touched some of the questions that I'm going to ask, but all our guests can answer. During your medical school, of course, you're still in the medical school, but what was the general experience as a student to overcome or to actually feed your needs as a student? I'm not just particularly asking for emergency medicine. I just want to ask in general, what worked for you, what didn't work really, what is your actually experience and expectations generally in undergraduate the education for yourself? And of course, we can focus later on the emergency medicine and what we can do for you or what you can do for the global community. But I just wanted to learn the general experiences and about the undergraduate education. Mohammed, can you start?
Sure. So it's a bit tricky to describe the curriculum in India now, or at least in my institution, because it has been totally revamped. In the past, it was a 6+1 model, just like the British medical school sort of system. But now it's been revamped to 5+2. And that plus is basically the internship or foundation year or whatever you want to call it. And the curriculum has been completely redesigned with a modular curriculum that focuses on systems. So there's been a lot of change in the past couple of years, and I am proud to have been involved in one of the focus groups when there was when they were conceptualizing the change. I was involved as a student ambassador, and I'm very happy to see that the system has changed. Obviously, I can't speak to because to the current situation, but I am optimistic that the way forward changes or has changed. But in regards to EM, there isn't an academic department of EM yet. Although I hear that there is one under development, and as such, there hasn't been a separate clerkship for emergency medicine. So essentially, until that happens, you're depriving classes of 1,000, 1,500 students to a correct exposure to EM. Personally, I know of only 2 or 3 students that have expressed a remote interest in emergency medicine. Personally, I had to rely on myself and FOMED to serve my EM educational needs.
Yeah, FOMED and maybe self-directed learning, a lot of involvement, I guess.
Exactly.
How about you, Jonathan?
Thank you, Dr. Arif. So, in my medical school, where we have a lot of support that I have credit, they try as much as they can to give us what they can, and what is probably not within their limits. Then we as students need to stand up for ourselves and look for what we would love to receive more. So I think in addition to the little mentorship programs that might be present, we would still, I would like to say that, well, there is still much more that needs to be probably done in regards to mentorship of students. And I also want to believe that there is still much more that we should be doing in regards to supporting the innovativeness and creativity mindsets of students. That isn't something that I have happened to experience very well during my journey through medical school up to the moment. And the way we study, I think we also need to have some little bit of change, and we have increase in the adoption of free and open access medical education resources. We're still following the traditional ways of studying of textbooks and which is all good. That is a background of medicine, but I think we need to find a way of increasing uptake of the current educational resources that we have at our disposal.
So Jonathan, you seem to really like the, I guess, the FOAMed type resources. I guess what we wanted to find out, Edibisi, what are your thoughts around online learning, the FOAMed? Is that how you like to learn as well?
Okay, I do like to learn with the FOAMed resources. They supplement, they help fill a gap that exists for me. So like I earlier said, no resources, not much on emergency medicine. So I had to use a lot of FOAMed resources to supplement my learning in emergency medicine. But when you talk about how well is this used, apart from generally in Nigeria, amongst other medical students, I think the first question would be, do they even know what FOAMed resources are? And this varies across different regions, because in Nigeria, something that is really pertinent is that we do not have the same access across the country. Some people have more access, some people have less. And then even for those who are aware of the FOAMed resources, not everyone can use them because of internet restrictions, network, access to data, and all that, electricity even, and so many other things. So a lot of our learning is with hard copy, with notes, with textbooks, with books that we can actually buy and read, because that will not be influenced by the lack or presence of electricity, or you don't have access to data or something like that. So mine is still pretty much in between. I use a lot of hard copy and textbooks and notes. I also use some FOAMed resources. I kind of dance around the two of them as much as I can. Yeah.
Well, I guess you're going to make learning fun. So I guess you're hopping across different modalities, right? I have a pretty short attention span. Maybe that's why I'm in emergency medicine, and I guess I will jump from one resource to another. That's quite fun what you're doing.
Wow. Actually, I just want to point out one thing that some of you already mentioned, that emergency medicine is not separate or a separate specialty in the country. I think currently almost 82 countries in the world accepted emergency medicine as a separate specialty. And I believe maybe 30% of them don't have a robust residency program yet. And even if they have a residency program, many of them don't have really structured, formatted, and formal emergency medicine collections or rotations. Of course, this is a kind of back-to-back, stepwise the track if you follow through. So definitely, what I understand now, we have countries in the one region or one continent may have emergency medicine rotation, and some they don't have emergency medicine rotation for students, or some of them has residency programs, some of them not. Some of them has actually very good, let's say, internet connectivity, but some of them not. Actually, it's happening in the region. Hopefully, it will improve with all your effort, with all our effort, or the emergency medicine community and the government, of course, and the medical schools. But I think it's the one step at a time. I mean, it will definitely improve, and we will reach that minimum required level for every country and every medical student, at least, I guess.
I think, Alpa, you're absolutely right. I mean, I wanted to bring back to Muhammad when we had that informal conversation about internet, and you were telling me you had 100 megabit internet access or fiber, access. I think it seems to vary from region to region in Africa, and I think we can't really we have to tailor learning resources to the region that to when we're reaching out. I think that's the lesson I'm learning at the moment, is that not each country is very different. And I think, and even within a country, access to internet is also varies a lot, as Adebisi has put out, and as Jonathan has put out there as well. And, you know, and to use a range of whatever is actually available to you.
Yes.
I guess, Alpa, I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, actually, I'm looking at some questions. Actually, we wrote it here, and I just want to ask, what are your future plans in your context or another context, or what is your plan?
I guess I'll go first.
You are the president, so you can talk.
No. We keep a very flat hierarchy in this council. You know, it's a collaboration.
Yes.
Please go ahead, Mohammed.
I plan on pursuing EM residency in the U.S. Honestly, I feel that I'm not going to be content with only reading about advanced therapeutic modalities as ECPR and not seeing it or doing it. You know, I want to do that. And hopefully after that, I intend to pursue a global health fellowship and sort of bring that advanced training and experience to the region and to right now, I'm most interested about pursuing like a job at the WHO Health Emergencies Program. So this is a warning to Dr. Mike Ryan. I'm coming for your job. Better watch out.
You know he's in Singapore, right? In WHO.
Okay. So send it.
You can come and join us here in Singapore.
Good. How about you, Adebisi? What is your plan?
Okay. Yes. So I'll be done with med school in a very short while. I think in about 2-3 weeks, I'll be done with med school. And for me, after my internship and a few things I have to do in my country, I do need to get emergency medicine formal training. So I'm considering also going to the US to get residency training. And after this, I want to get a fellowship in disaster medicine. It's really where my focus of interest is. And ultimately, what I see myself doing is being a part of building response systems for Africa, and being a part of building disaster response, disaster mitigation strategies, and for kind of platforms for Africa. And that's really the kind of work I want to ultimately do. But for now, looking to getting into a residency in the US and then a disaster medicine fellowship.
Amazing. Great. And you, Jonathan?
Right. Thank you, Dr. Arif. I personally would like to pursue my EM residency in the United Kingdom, simply because, well, I want to expose myself, then be able to return back to our settings and contribute to the development of emergency medicine in our country, but with special interests in academic emergency medicine and international emergency medicine, medical education, and then critical care.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they are
I
all
hope you all will come back. Yeah.
Yes.
You'll
Actually,
all come back as leaders in
Yeah.
Africa.
yeah. Actually, so nice to see you guys. I mean, in very early age, and actually, right on time. Actually, you internalize, why emergency medicine is important, and what you can do for it, and what you can bring back to community. I think it is great to hear this one. And I want to mention one thing. Maybe James adds something about it, and I really want to ask James also what he thinks about it. I think the emergency medicine, regardless of the specialty of future physician, is very important because they're somehow being a part of the emergency medical care. Even if you're an orthopedic doctor, you're taking care of some emergency cases in the ER. And you have to understand what emergency medicine is, what are the strengths and weaknesses during your medical school, and then you can act accordingly, right? But if you don't understand what is emergency medicine, how it works, what are the weaknesses and strengths, and any other specialty or any other physician can actually misunderstand what's going on. So therefore, undergraduate emergency medicine, I think, is kind of must, and it should be very structured and well designed for every medical school, I believe. What do you think, James? Am I exaggerating?
Yeah, no, I think the reality is that a small fraction of the medical student body will eventually pursue some form of career in emergency medicine. We still have the other maybe 95%, 90% who would pursue careers in other specialties, primary care, surgery, medicine, psychiatry. But I think what we can offer students really within the specialty of emergency medicine is to expose them to some unique learning environments with undifferentiated, pretty sick patients. Some not so sick, some sick, and to recognize the difference between the two. I think that's really the learning experience that we're trying, that we will hopefully expose our students to. And that's why we're passionate about it, is that we're not trying to make them emergency physicians necessarily. And those that want to become emergency physicians will become emergency physicians. And I think our specialty has a lot to offer the medical students in general, and them learning about, the undifferentiated patients and, resuscitation and, recognition of sick versus not so sick patients. I think it's great. We still need our orthopedic surgeons. We still need our general surgeons. We still need our physicians. And I have a healthy respect for all of them. And I think they will develop a healthy respect for us by being exposed to our specialty at an early stage.
Yeah. What I meant, it doesn't depend actually which specialty you are choosing in the future, but definitely every medical student has to understand how it works. And definitely it can help their, mindsets, even if they are doing the different specialty. So I think the undergraduate emergency medicine, therefore, is kind of an important, task to accomplish. All right, I think...
You know what, Alpha? I want to go and talk about something that I've been dying to talk about. This,
what is this?
African Federation of Emergency Medicine Medical Student Council.
Yes.
It's actually quite a unique organization. So let's start off with Mohammed. Can you talk a little bit about how the African Federation decided to form a student council?
Sure. Well, as you've probably heard us talk about for the past hour, all three of us had to self-direct our learning towards emergency medicine, right? And I'd like to add that all three of us actually have experience either starting or trying to start the interest group within their own institution for emergency medicine. Unfortunately, I was told to wait until the emergency department or the academic department of emergency medicine is operational. But Jonathan had some success, and BC had success on a national scale. I mean, we thought, this is a common problem throughout Africa, right? Let's find a centralized solution to a limited exposure to EM. If you can't start an interest group in your institution or your country, that's where we come in. We'll start this Pan-African emergency medicine interest group. And that's the core of why we started the student council. It's to expose students to emergency medicine correctly. Because when I share that I want to specialize in emergency medicine to people that don't know what emergency medicine is, first thing out of their mouth, emergency medicine, don't do it, right? And that will deprive a specialty from a diversity of energies and a diversity of perspective and a diversity of everything. It deprives the specialty from reaching its maximum potential.
Well, that sounds like it was quite a tall order. So did you, I guess did you face any challenges? Did any of the three of you face any challenges when you came up to the president and said, "Oh, we want to start a student council. What do I do next?" type thing, or what do we do next?
So I have to preface this saying that if it weren't for the current situation in the world going virtual, that there was a big chance that we would not have started this, right? It started with us being able to attend the African Conference on Emergency Medicine, the last one, and we were granted, every African was granted free attendance. So essentially what I'm trying to say is if you foster the right environment with the right support, the change just comes. And I have to say, AFM leadership were very welcoming of this idea. All it took was a discussion on the app. It was very spontaneous, very it was a talk, it was a chat. We asked the question, why don't we have this in our in the organization? And the BC answers. Jonathan comes in, we talk together, and then we sort of have this preliminary vision of what we want to do. And what happened is we reach out to Dr. Wachera, who was the president at the time. He's like, "Hey, you should get buy-in from other students," and he actually schedules a side meeting during the conference for us to get buy-in. And then we hold a meeting. I remember it as if it were yesterday. We hold a meeting, and then we send it in, and then they're like, "You have unanimous agreement on this. Go ahead, get it done."
Apparently,
Sounds like you had a lot of friends.
yeah, there was no bureaucracy, which is nice.
I guess it's not always like that, is it? I mean, I guess it's not always like that. And I wonder, Jonathan and Adebisi, whether you could give any word of advice if you if others were to want to come together to form a medical student council within a professional body like their country emergency medicine organization. What would you advise them? What's one piece of advice you would give them?
Okay. I would want Okay, sorry, Jonathan. I'm so sorry. I went first. I would want Jonathan to speak as well because we have both extremely different circumstances. So I would like to drop mine. I also want him to say something as well. For me, I did not have any faculty support. I didn't have any emergency medicine organization in my country who I could, get as faculty advisors or as support or, for any form of advice or even to fund the project. So everything had to be done by the students. We led it, we started it, we did all the work together. So for me, the biggest advice to anyone with similar situation, with a similar circumstance, would be to find very dedicated emergency medicine bound medical students. My support team has been my team, my work team, my student team. They have been amazing. And I even want to say, Simi and Faith, I hope you're watching this. We have done phenomenal work in Nigeria in our emergency medicine interest group without even support from anyone, just because of how willing they have been and how they've given their time to it. So that would be my advice to anyone with the same circumstance.
Jonathan.
Okay, thank you. So I was asked to give a piece of advice, but I think I have a couple of them. However, I think one that ranks on the top is I would advise students from all over the world who are interested in founding an initiative like the Student Council we founded to invest a lot in networking, because if it wasn't that, then me, Adebisi, and Mohammed wouldn't have been here today and probably talking about what we're talking about right now. And then in addition to that, they should not hold themselves back. Let them seek for help at any one point in time that they feel like, well, I need help with doing this and that. And the third point is for them to never sit on ideas that pop up in their mind. You never know what that idea might develop into and where it might lead you up to. Yeah. Those are the few, but I think I have a whole list of advice that I would love to speak to my colleagues if I'm given ample time. Thank you.
Right. Amazing. I mean, I believe, of course, there are student interest groups in many medical school. I believe in, I hope in many emergency medicine association or society. But as far as I know, there are very few. And I think we need to congratulate the leadership of the AFAM is open the door for our future colleagues, which is you, to create a student council to increasing the awareness about emergency medicine in the student level. I think it is amazing. I'm thinking, does IFAM have any student committee or group?
Oh, I think Alpa, you've just stumbled onto another idea that I think maybe IFAM should set the example and
why not?
should have its own medical student council
We know
and engage our students.
Yeah, definitely. We know the SAM from US. I believe ASAP probably may have Canadian the association may have some student groups, but as a student council under the association, generally, I didn't see that much. And the residents, yes, they have some committees underneath of the major association, but students are not really represented as should be.
No, not at all. I mean, from my recollection, I mean, this group is actually quite unique. And I guess I might be totally wrong. I mean, I'm on social media, so I will stand to be corrected. But I guess this is a level up from your emergency medicine interest groups, which are important. Interest groups, groups of medical students within societies. I think that's again important. But then that forms that precursor for a much larger leadership group, such as the Student Council. I think this is a great example, and this is a great example of how FM has taken this forward and has actually made it possible, made it happen. And I think that's where emergency physicians, we make things happen. So let's go on with that and try to make things happen, try to stir up, I guess, a little bit of passion around, having students in our organizations.
Yeah. And they have beautiful logo, as you know.
Tell us about that logo.
I just
tell us about that logo.
This. So, can we learn something about this logo?
Sure. It took a lot of time to create. But the rationale behind that logo was, again, this council was formed to cultivate growth, to help people grow as people. And what better to signify growth than a tree, right? I had to Google trees in Africa to find something suitable, and I arrived at the acacia tree that you see over there. Apparently, it fixes nitrogen in the soil and it fertilizes soil around it so other crops can grow, and it prevents deforestation. So it's a sustainable resource. So that's two words: growth and sustainable, right? And that hand under the tree is cultivation. It cultivates. So sustainably cultivating growth, right? And I'd like to point out that that hand, you see it in Africa, not under it, right? So it was an initiative that was formed by Africans for Africans, and that's the whole rationale behind that logo.
Amazing.
Wow.
Amazing.
What a lot of thought has gone into this logo. It's a wonderful logo. And even more important is the message that it sends actually to not just to Africans or Africa, but to the rest of the world as well, which I think is a really important thing. And I'm hoping that, through the social media platforms, this initiative really will take off and will be the example where others can go as well with the medical student, with their medical students and leadership groups.
I think we have a message from Brazil.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Actually, the message comes from Henrik. let me make it visible for everybody. Here in Brazil, the Brazilian Association of Emergency Medicine also has a student council. I think it's amazing.
Yay.
Amazing. Great.
Great, amazing. So why not? We are hosting you another live session. Right?
Yes, get in touch with us, please.
Yes,
And
please.
we are very happy to have another live session. And I think more importantly, connect up with the African Federation of Emergency Medicine Student Council. I think that's really quite important as well.
And also, maybe we can add here, I mean, if there are multiple national student organizations, maybe many of them already know there is an International Student Association for Emergency Medicine already. So maybe all these countries can be connect and communicate with other organizations and get more stronger. And definitely we want stronger students to work with us, shoulder by shoulder, to the best, hopefully. And definitely, Hengli, if you can reach us, we would like to host you and we would like to learn from your experiences. Definitely. All right. What is next? James, do you have questions?
Well, I think we're coming to the end. I'm very wary of time. And, you know, with these events, these virtual events, it can get sort of challenging any time above an hour. So I guess, would you like to ask about the how we can help? You know, we've been talking about, you know, your challenges, you know, the different contexts, what you want to achieve. Now, I think we probably should shift the focus a little bit. And how can we, as either an international organization such as IFEM and the International Emergency Medicine Project, how can we help? How can we, I guess, are there things within the International Emergency Medicine Project that we could include, or things that you didn't feel that helpful, that you feel that maybe it could, other things we could add to make it more helpful? Is that where you were going, Alpa?
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what,
I think it's very important to learn, because at the end, not just us, the free resources trying to produce as best as resources are possible for our medical students. So we would like to learn what they need really, and how we can help them, and also how we can collaborate to increase these resources for everybody around the world. Yeah, definitely. And any comment from your side?
And it'll put me on the spot again.
You're the president.
Yeah.
Honestly, what I'd like to ask the international community is to remove barriers to knowledge. That's basically it. Remember that paper I talked about? If you don't have a subscription to the journal that published the paper, you're not going to be able to access it. And that happens a lot with sort of evidence that it was gathered in a global setting, and having the people that are in that setting not be able to access that information. So I'd ask the global community sort of remove obstacles to knowledge, and I'd like to even say that the International Emergency Medicine Education Project has done a lot. Remember that we've mentioned that we all three of us took that course that you've put on the website, and it has been very beneficial in sort of getting an introduction to emergency medicine when we don't have any other alternatives. So you just keep doing what you're doing, you know.
Actually, at this point, maybe I need to say that it was a very difficult time when we created the course. Actually, we were discussing with James what to do, how we can do faster, and I'm not sure how appropriate to say here, but we were not alone actually to creating that platform. We contacted with one of the major online student education company. which is like Trio, maybe you know, and then we discussed with them and said that this is a social responsibility, initiative, and our students are really in difficulty. The emergency physicians are so tired. I mean, they're working in the emergency department. There is no actually, the education time for their trainees because this is the pandemic, so everybody working clinically. So therefore, we said that how you can help us. I mean, we want to create an education platform, a course platform, freely available for all students who are in need, to help the students and also help the educators, actually. And they didn't even say what is going on. And they just said that, okay, we have 200 emergency medicine videos, and it's you. And just do it whatever you think it is feasible and applicable, and make it freely available. This is hard time. And one, let's say, a company working with the nonprofit other organization, which is us, and it was a very difficult time, as you can remember. And then I think it was very fruitful product we created together. And I really appreciate the James support in that time. And we were not alone, actually. Yeah, but thank you so much.
I mean, these partnerships are really important. I mean, we haven't been paid to do any advertising today either for Lecturio, but I think we should acknowledge them in the sense that this is a partnership, and it's a very clear partnership with we don't have any conflict of interest. We don't receive anything from them at all. So I think that's really important. But I guess I know you found the resource really helpful, but maybe Jonathan, I can ask you, how do we get more people to use it? If I guess you guys found it useful, so I'm wondering, whether you can give us some advice on how do we reach out to other students. If I'm not wrong, the uptake wasn't as high as we would have liked it in Africa, so that's that's why we're asking this.
Thank you so much, Dr. James, for the question you've asked. I think we can literally be able to get more people to take up the course, starting from we ourselves who have taken the course before. We should be the preachers of the word. In other words, we should advocate for the course amongst our communities that we do come from, the different medical schools. And we've set up an initiative that we hope that will be able to spread the word of emergency medicine all over the continent. So we believe if we have the Student Council fully set up, it will serve as a vessel for us to keep informing medical students wherever they are about the various online resources, including the course that we do. And then we find out, do they have any challenges that probably are in their ways which could impede their taking up of the course. Then we try and see how we can respond to such challenges. And if responded to, I believe we should be able to notice some upscaling in the course uptake.
Yeah.
And can I add something very small? It's not about the content or that nobody likes the content. It's about the concept of FOAMed in and of itself. It's relatively new in our settings. Again, I was introduced to FOAMed through my journey trying to learn about emergency medicine. If you Google FOAMed right now, most of the resources have to do with emergency medicine. So nobody knows about emergency medicine. Nobody's going to access the FOAMed resources that have to do with emergency medicine.
Exactly.
The people that produce FOAMed don't be discouraged. It's just going to take some time, for FOAMed to gain traction and to be used in our settings.
Adebisi, you had something you wanted to say?
I guess they have pretty much covered most of it. I already began talking about the course on my interest group. I remember taking the course and then coming to the interest group, mentioning it and listing it as one of the resources that they should use. I think also as we established the AFM Student Council, which we're trying to build a website, or we're trying to get like a page off of the AFM website where we're going to have resources listed. We would definitely still put the emergency medicine project, the course on there, so that when students from Africa go check the website, they can find the resource there listed as something they should all go through. So that would also really help get some awareness on the course as well.
Amazing.
Great.
Thank you.
That's all great advice. Thank you for sharing that advice with us. You know, we are passionate about what we do, and I guess you guys are passionate with what you do as well. So that's really great. Alpa,
Yeah.
any other thoughts?
Actually, we are almost, on time. The finishing for the questions. I think we discussed almost everything. Maybe we forget a couple of questions, but I think it's totally okay. Being on time is also important. And before I close, maybe what can I say? I will give the last words to you, of course, and please don't go anywhere. And I just maybe I can mention that you can watch this live sessions recording in the YouTube or in the IEM-student.org TV. And also, if it is possible, you can subscribe to IEM-student.org platform, and you can check the IEM-course.org, the platform too, for other courses. And of course, our main activity announcements happening in Twitter. So IEM_student in Twitter. So if you can follow, so then I think you can learn many things about the emergency medicine activities that we are putting through. And also I need to say, Elif, thank you. You're dealing with, background, the check, all the way this, the live activity. So otherwise, I think that we finish all our questions and come to the final words.
Yes, I think we should hear from the students.
Yeah.
They should be our final words.
All right, again, I'll go first. Honestly, I hope that you can take home this message. What we've tried to highlight during this session is that student engagement is absolutely necessary for the longevity of this specialty. And we'd like to paint a picture that an investment in the future of emergency medicine is as valid as an investment in its present as an item on the development agenda. That's the core of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, very important
Thank
message. Thank you, Mohammed. It's very important, really.
Okay.
Adebisi?
Adebisi?
Okay. I would say that on top of what Mohammed has already said, emergency medicine is blessed to have some of the most intentional people I have met. With the challenges put before us, many of us, the medical students, we've had to claw our way through, work so hard to get resources, to get access, to create things, innovate things that have never existed or things that were not there before we got there. And it is very important that these skills, these interest, dedication is harnessed, and it's not led to waste. So there should be definitely investment in emergency medicine development, and also involving medical students on as much platforms as possible. So the IFEM, AFEM, and all of that, having students be a big part of it, so that their interests are nurtured, and then eventually they can do a lot more in emergency medicine. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Adebisi.
Jonathan.
Okay, thank you. So I personally believe if we to have the emergency medicine profession keep growing and reaching to every corner of the world, I believe we should support each and every person who rises up with a contribution towards the development to develop their different ideas that they come up with. And then for we ourselves, the students, I believe it's important that probably we receive enough and adequate support to enable us to embrace leadership of ourselves as we prepare ourselves for leading on the profession in our old days, which will definitely help us keep having the profession flourish as so many other professions are.
Thank you. How about you, James?
Thank you.
what is your last words?
Actually, my last words are probably more to thank all of you for opening my eyes. It's very easy for us to make assumptions about what is and isn't available, what is and isn't a good learning approach, how students learn, how our trainees learn. So I think thank you for opening at least my eyes to the fact that actually there's a broad contextual element in how we all learn, even within a country itself. So thank you very much for that. And thank you very much for your time in having a coffee with us.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
I cannot add more.
Thank you for having us.
Amazing, so exciting day for us. Learning from you, hearing from you, and sharing your experiences with our audience. I think is amazing. I think we should do it the frequently as best as we can in our busy the workload, but it's still it's worth it. Definitely, we want to learn more from you, to serve you actually, and of course, we serve you. Probably we serve the community at the end. So this is the ultimate goal where we want to reach. Also, there are multiple congratulations in the chat box, and so unfortunately I cannot, put them all of them into the screen. But forgive me, I'm not able to do that. Technically impossible, I guess, for me now. But thank you so much for your the nice comments on the chat box too.
Thank you for having us.
And hope to see you in our next live session. So I think we can conclude for today.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you for each and everything.